Gardening advice has told people for decades to, feed your plants. Walk into any garden center and the shelves are full of fertilizers promising bigger harvests, faster growth, and greener leaves. But honestly, serious gardeners know that constantly feeding plants directly is one of the biggest mistakes that slowly weakens a garden over time. If you want healthier vegetables, stronger trees, and soil that gets better every year instead of worse, the approach has to change. On this channel, we talk about building gardens that thrive naturally, and today we're going to shift the entire way you think about fertilizing. Before we get into it, make sure you subscribe to the Evergreen Garden channel and leave a comment about what you currently use to fertilize your garden, because understanding what you're using now will help you see the difference once you start feeding the soil instead of the plants. The reason feeding plants directly creates weak soil is actually pretty straightforward. Most fertilizers are designed to feed the plant immediately. They contain nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium in forms that plants can absorb right away. When you pour these nutrients into the soil, the plant takes them up quickly, grows fast, and often looks impressive in the short term. The problem is that the soil ecosystem gets bypassed completely. Healthy soil is not just dirt holding a plant upright. It's a living system filled with bacteria, fungi, protozoa, nematodes, earthworms, and countless microscopic organisms. These organisms break down organic matter and slowly release nutrients in a balanced way that plants evolve to use. When synthetic or fast-release fertilizers dominate the process, the plant stops depending on soil biology. Roots become lazy. Microbial populations decline. Over time, the soil loses structure, organic matter drops, and the garden requires more and more fertilizer just to maintain the same growth. This is why many gardeners find themselves in a cycle where they have to keep increasing fertilizer every year just to get average results. The soil system underneath the plants is no longer doing its job. The soil food web is the real engine of plant nutrition. When gardeners shift their focus from feeding plants to feeding soil, they're really working with something called the soil food web. This network of microorganisms converts organic materials into plant-available nutrients at the exact rate plants need them. Bacteria break down simple compounds and release nitrogen in forms plants can absorb. Fungi extend through the soil like underground highways, transporting nutrients and water to plant roots. Mycorrhizal fungi even connect directly with roots and exchange nutrients for plant sugars. Earthworms process organic matter and leave behind castings that are extremely rich in available nutrients. A teaspoon of healthy soil can contain billions of microorganisms. When that system is thriving, plants rarely suffer from nutrient deficiencies because the soil is constantly recycling organic material into usable nutrition. Feeding soil means feeding that entire system so it can support plants naturally. Compost is the foundation of soil feeding. If there is one input that consistently improves soil health year after year, it's compost. Compost feeds microbes, improves soil structure, increases water retention, and slowly releases nutrients as it breaks down. A practical application for most gardens is adding about 1 to 2 inches of compost on the soil surface once or twice per year. For a standard garden bed measuring 4 feet by 8 feet, that usually requires around 2 to 3 cubic feet of finished compost. Spread it evenly and let earthworms and microbes pull it into the soil naturally. For vegetable gardens, many experienced growers add compost in early spring before planting and again after the main harvest season. This keeps organic matter levels consistently rising. The important point is that compost is not just fertilizer, it's microbial food. When microbes eat compost, they release nutrients gradually, creating a natural feeding system for plants. Mulching keeps the soil ecosystem alive and protected. Feeding soil isn't only about what you add, it's also about protecting the environment where microbes live. Bare soil is one of the fastest ways to destroy microbial life because sunlight, heat, and erosion damage the delicate biology underground. A thick layer of organic mulch keeps soil moist, cool, and active. Wood chips, shredded leaves, straw, and grass clippings all work extremely well. A typical mulch layer should be about 2 to 4 inches thick. For vegetable beds, straw or shredded leaves are excellent choices because they break down relatively quickly and contribute organic matter as they decompose. For fruit trees and perennial gardens, wood chips are often better because they break down slowly and support beneficial fungal networks that trees rely on. As mulch decomposes, microbes feed on it and convert it into humus, enriching the soil year after year without constant fertilizer applications. Compost tea can recharge microbial life quickly. Sometimes soil needs a biological boost, especially if it has been heavily fertilized or disturbed in the past. Compost tea is a powerful way to introduce beneficial microbes back into the soil. A simple compost tea recipe involves mixing 1 shovel of finished compost into 5 gallons of water. Add about 1 tablespoon of unsulfured molasses to feed microbial growth. Aerate the mixture with an aquarium pump or stir vigorously several times per day and let it brew for about 24 hours. Once ready, apply the tea directly to the soil around plants. A typical application rate is about 1 gallon per 10 square feet of garden bed. This introduces millions of beneficial microbes that help rebuild soil biology. Many gardeners apply compost tea every 2 to 4 weeks during the growing season to maintain strong microbial populations. Cover crops feed soil even when you're not gardening. Another powerful soil feeding strategy is planting cover crops. Instead of leaving beds empty after harvest, cover crops grow roots that feed microbes and protect soil from erosion. Legume cover crops like clover, peas, and vetch fix nitrogen from the air and store it in their roots. Grasses like rye and oats produce massive root systems that add organic matter to the soil. A practical example is sowing crimson clover at about 1 pound of seed per 1,000 square feet in early fall. The plants grow through winter, protect soil, and add nitrogen. In spring, they can be cut down and left on the soil surface as mulch. Over time, this cycle dramatically increases soil fertility without external fertilizers. Liquid fertilizers can still be used, but differently. Feeding soil instead of plants does not mean abandoning every fertilizer completely. It means using inputs that support microbial activity rather than replacing it. Fish emulsion, seaweed extract, and diluted compost extracts are good examples. These materials contain trace minerals and organic compounds that microbes can process. Fish emulsion is commonly diluted at about 1 tablespoon per gallon of water and applied to soil every 2 to 3 weeks. Instead of dumping concentrated nutrients onto plants, you're feeding microbes that convert those nutrients into balanced plant nutrition. The difference is subtle but powerful. The soil ecosystem remains the primary engine delivering nutrients. Signs your soil is improving under this system. Gardeners who switch to feeding soil often notice several changes within a year or two. Soil becomes darker and crumbly instead of compacted. Earthworms appear in large numbers when digging. Plants develop deeper root systems and require less watering. Pest problems often decrease because healthier plants produce stronger natural defenses. Yields become more consistent as well. Instead of dramatic growth spikes followed by nutrient crashes, plants grow steadily throughout the season. One of the most noticeable differences is resilience. Gardens managed this way recover faster from heat waves, drought, and heavy rain because the soil structure and microbial life buffer environmental stress. The long-term reward is soil that gets better every season. The biggest advantage of feeding soil is that the system improves over time instead of degrading. Traditional fertilizer-based gardening often leads to declining soil quality after several years. Feeding soil does the opposite. Each layer of compost, mulch, and organic matter builds a deeper reserve of nutrients and microbial life. Eventually, the garden becomes largely self-sustaining. Many experienced organic growers find that after several seasons of building soil, they rarely need additional fertilizer at all. The soil becomes the fertilizer factory. That shift in mindset is what separates average gardens from truly thriving ecosystems. If this approach to gardening makes sense to you and you want to learn more techniques that build stronger soil and healthier plants, make sure you subscribe to the Evergreen Garden channel and share this video with another gardener who still thinks fertilizer alone is the answer. And drop a comment below telling us what you currently use to feed your garden soil, because sharing real experiences helps everyone grow better gardens.